morning. Good afternoon. This is Patrizia Morgante, the USG Communication Officer, but I'm also in charge of, Talita's cum communication. Welcome, everybody. And we are here for the 10th anniversary of Talita Cum. We have just started the celebration. And today, if I'm not mistaken, Sister Gabriella has sent out the convocation letter for the first General Talita Cum Assembly. So she will tell us the theme and some other information afterwards. But before, I would like to ask her, I will ask her some questions, and then you will have the opportunity to ask other questions if you like. You can ask the floor, you can raise your hand, and you can also write on the chat. Sister Gabriella, 10 years. Can you share with us some key steps in these 10 years of Talita Cum who really helped Talita Cum to become what is now?
Good morning, good afternoon, and good everybody. Thank you, Patrizia, for the question that give me the opportunity to tell a bit of the story of Talita Cum. So I think that one of the main important events, it was 10 years ago, and it was a 2-year time, 2008 and 2009. There were two big gatherings here in Rome from sisters working at the grassroots against trafficking, and they asked to the International Union of Superior General to have a coordination office here in Rome. And the UISG decided to have and to open Talita Cum office in 2009 officially. After that decision, Sister Estrella Castalone, and I think it's very important to remember her today, or in this year, we celebrate the 10th anniversary. She's the former coordinator of Talita Cum. And I think that during her time, it was a time of strengthening the work at the grassroots level and at the local level. So the network that were still established and other were growing in Asia, in Africa, and Latin America, and Central America, in North of America. And it was a time really to create this big diversity of networks around the globe. When I arrived in 2015, taking over the work of Sister Estrella, I like to define that time to try to strengthen and to improve the common identity. And I think that in the last year, to prepare to celebrate the 10th anniversary, we have now the logo of Talita Cum with the hand is a very important symbol expressing really the identity of our network worldwide in the diversity.
Sister Gabriella, you have chosen the structure for Talita Cum that is a network. Can you explain us why is more effective a network to combat against human trafficking?
I remember when I started to get involved against trafficking in Brazil. There is my grassroots experience in this field. I got in contact with the sisters organized in network in Brazil, the Rete Un Grito per la Vida. And I discovered at that time how important it was and how powerful was that tool. First of all, religious women still have a network. The conferences of religious, the Union of General Superior is built up like a network. So we are creating on an existing network a very capillary and strong collaboration against trafficking. First of all, we are not a structure, so we have a kind of a flexibility. It's easier to get organized, also to involve sisters as volunteer in this field. So often we have difficulties because we have many work to do, and it's very difficult. The congregation sets sisters 100% free for this service, but throughout building network allowed us to work part-time or 1 day a week in this field.
So Gabriella, I have the impression that the awareness around the world within religious life about the phenomenon of trafficking, human trafficking, is increasing a lot. Can you explain why, in your opinion, it is happening that?
First of all, we have a great collaboration and a great support with the General Superior and sisters, the leaders of the congregation, the major superiors. Do not forget that in 2001, during a plenary of the International Union of Superior General, it was taken the decision to collaborate in many fields, and the first one was against trafficking in person. So the first element is really a decision and the implementation of many sisters at the grassroots of that decision. The second one, and probably is the most important, is the fact that trafficking in person is growing, and more in the work that we are doing among vulnerable groups like migrants, refugees, with women suffering violence, we get in touch with people suffering for trafficking. And the third element is, of course, the main appeals of and the words and the commitment of the Church, and specifically of Pope Francis, that since the very beginning of his pontificate, he started and he speak out very strong against human trafficking, calling all the Church to get involved in it.
Sister Gabriella, you arrived as international coordinator in 2015 from Brazil, where I guess you have worked a lot. Perhaps this is the reason you were chosen for this new mission at the international level. So you worked a lot with survivors and victims of trafficking. I'm almost sure that mission is always a mutual learning. So what did you learn from your mission experience?
I have learned, I would like to say what freedom is. Freedom, but also human dignity. I have learned how important it is to stay, to collaborate, to support one each other, to be, to feel ourselves part of the suffering of the others, but also part of the solution, and not alone, but together. It's a journey that we are doing together as people. I have learned to give the space, to put myself not in the center, but to create a circle. In Brazil, we love to dance the ciranda. It's a circular dance where everybody is important and staying around the circle. And we are in that. And the center is life. The center is suffering life that we try to care together.
I don't know if it's the word burnout is a very strong word, but you have been working in this field for many years, as many other sisters. I don't know if it's a risk that sisters might experience the burnout, because when you spend so much time touching the wounds of other people, when you see the dignities or I don't know, can you say something how we can face this burnout when you always are in contact with this suffering? of other human beings?
The risk is real, Patrizia. We are human beings. One of the things that it is important for Talita Kum is in the training we have organized throughout these more than 10 years. One of the topics is burnout, how to identify, how to recognize that we are living in a risk, or we are starting to be in this situation, to recognize it in ourselves, but also how to protect ourselves. In my experience in the network, it was very nice to make together, because praying together, sharing our experience, dancing together, crying together, laughing together. It was really a very important moment to strengthen one each other, to continue the service, but also to avoid to get in such situation like burnout. And of course, the spirituality, the prayer are very, very important in this.
Together against human trafficking. Perhaps this is the challenge, but at the same time, the solution to cope with burnout, to cope with suffering. And actually, this is the goal of Talita Kum, actually, to be together. Can you now tell us something about the next assembly, the first assembly that will be held in Rome at the USG in September? Please start with the title and explain something about the title, because there are key words there.
Yes, it is the first Talita Kum General Assembly. The theme is Together Against Trafficking in Persons, Weaving a Web in Love. Together because we want to confirm the decision of the International Union of Superior General, but also the individual choice of all of us members of the network. We know that it's not a decision of our General Superior to be part only, but every sister is joining the network, has done their own choice. And this is important. Instead, collaboration is impossible. So we want to confirm that we are willing and continue to collaborate among us, but also with other NGOs, governmental and non-governmental organizations as church. And then weaving a web in love. Pope Francis said that trafficking in person is an open wound in the body of Christ. We are part of this body. This wounded body of Christ is not only with our sisters and brothers that are suffering for trafficking, but we are also part of that body. And together taking care one of each other. So weaving together, weaving a web in love, is because we are not the only one weaving a web of love. No, we are really part of this dynamic of love, and each one has a very important role to play. We have diverse roles, but we are all important in this one body, suffering together, but also expressing the joy of human dignity, the joy of being daughters and sons of God.
Thank you, Sister Gabriella. And I see that there are many congregations who are willing to help and to do something in this field. So can you give some concrete tips, suggestions for a congregation who would like to start to work in this field?
Trafficking in person is a complex crime. We need to be prepared. So formation, not only the professional formation, that it is very important, but also a specific formation on the field. and the sharing with other congregation and with other sisters that are still working on the field. Of course, many other organizations can be important. I understood in my experience that it is easier to understand one each other when we are religious women or religious men, religious people, because we are sharing also a style of life, a style, an approach that is really supported by our choice of being consecrated people. And yeah, the other element is not to be alone and to take the time to understand the reality of trafficking in the place where I am, and the time to understand what it is possible to do according to the charism of the congregation. We can do a beautiful work in our schools. We can do a great and important role in the pastoral work that we are doing, in the commitment for justice and peace. We can also open shelters to take care of the survivors. We have really many opportunities to get involved against trafficking, and there is not only one way to do that.
And then perhaps contact also the local or the continental network, Talitacum network. So
yes, and if you do not have yet a Talitacum network, I saw Father Albert before. It was in Tunisia. He's starting in contact with Talitacum Rome and the whole network. So you can also get in touch with the International Union of Superior General to start a new network in your country.
This is very important to learn from others who have more experience than us, you know. I invite the people who are following online to prepare their questions. I repeat, they can ask the floor. There is a bottom raise hand, so we'll see your hand and my colleague will unmute your microphone, or you can write the questions online. The question is for Sister Gabriella about the last, but I don't know. Can you share with us a couple of outcomes during your mandate, so from 2015 today? 2 outcomes that you reach together with others that you consider important milestones for Talitacum.
I think that probably the most important one is that from this great diversity that we still have, and it is a treasure, a very important element for us, we started to build up a Talitacum identity. So now we feel that we are part of a global network, and this is very important. And the coordination at a regional level among continents, for example, from South, Latin and North America, we have a stronger connection. Oceania, they are starting to be connected at continental level, also with more connection with Southeast Asia and South Asia, but also between Europe and Africa. I think that are very, very important. And the second element is to improve also the collaboration and the connection of religious sisters in dialogue with the official church at international level. I'm speaking more on about the organization in the Vatican. And the communication, we are still working on that, is a huge and big journey we are going on, but I think we were able to improve communication among all networks of Talitacum.
Thank you, Sister Gabriella. I can tell the participants they can also unmute the microphone by themselves. So if they want to, we are not a huge group, so I think we can manage. And actually, Gabriella, I have another question waiting for our participants' questions. and is about the work, the huge work of lobbying, advocacy, and networking that you in Rome usually and daily do. So can you tell us more?
This is part of being in the UISG. It is a work done together with our general superiors, and is the connection we have with the Vatican dicasteries, we have with the pontifical universities here in Rome, that we have also with in a particular way with the section migrants and refugees, but also with the embassies to the Holy See, and something that we slowly but slowly are trying to improve, but also with the communication, the work with the communication team here in Rome, with the press and the Vatican News, and also many other newspapers and TV based here in Rome. So this is the work that we are trying to do to make visible the work of the sisters around the globe.
So again, together against human trafficking, I want just to remind the theme of the assembly that will be held in Rome from September 21st to 28th. We will have a closed session just for participants. It's not a public meeting, but we will have a session, open session for public, but also online. So we will tell you more in the following months, but we will also have another appointment for Talita Kum, that is May, during the USG plenary from May 6th to May 10th, where Talita Kum will have an important space also to report to the Superiors General about its work and its outcomes. I will leave 1 minute to our participants to think and to formulate their question if they like. So we can take 1 minute waiting for, you can write in the chat or click on the bottom raise hand. You can also unmute your microphone and speak, ask questions, or just give a short comment. Okay.
Question? Hello? Yes. So the question, I'm sorry, it seems that my microphone is still muted. Can you hear me?
Perfectly.
Okay. Yeah, my question is about Talitha Kum's work with the United Nations, and I was wondering, Sister, if you could please comment a little bit on the extent of coordination between Talitha Kum and UN agencies against human trafficking, and perhaps to what extent this coordination is taking place at the domestic level, as well as at the level of UN headquarters, General Assembly, and agencies in New York and Geneva.
Thank you for the question. Talita Kum is coordinating and maximizes the resources that religious life has. There are many congregations with the status of ECOSOC at the United Nations, or with representatives in Geneva. What we are trying to do is to strengthen collaboration. We do not produce something different. We do not have a Talita Kum office, but we are working in bringing together the existing of what religious life still has in order to, and we support collaboration, coordination of the work, trying to open space also for religious congregation that are part of Talita Kum and they do not have any presence at the United Nations.
Thank you, Sister Gabriella. We have a question from Sister Michelle Morek from Global Sister Report. Thank you for participating. And the question is, how much advocacy do you do with government, Sister Gabriella, or do you leave that to the sisters in the respective countries?
The responsibility to lead with the government is of the local network. So we do not interfere. In some cases, when we, as international Talita Kum, we are asked to support some action, we will do that. Or if we have some information when we met the ambassadors to the Holy See, we can present some situation. But of course, the first responsibility is of the sister working in that country. And for this reason, we ask always to be organized at national level first to improve and to implement this work in the country. But I think it's very, very important, the collaboration when we start to make advocacy with our government.
Thank you, Sister Gabriella. We have 2 questions more. No one dares to ask the floor, so I will read it with my poor English. I'm very happy to have the Leadership Conference of Women Religious of the United States. They asking, Gabriella, thank you so much for your important work. I've been heartened by the growth in our common understanding of Talita Kum and our global cooperation. Could comment briefly on Talita Kum's relationship with national conferences of religious?
Thank you. What we have a kind of, let me say, guideline. I do not find a better word. Is UASG Talita Kum. Talita Kum is a project of the International Union of Superior General, and we are in a dialogue with our major superior, and we are supported by them. So our network are growing as under the responsibilities, and we are accountable to our major superior. So the relationship between the networks and the conferences or the association of religious are very, very important. Is a life-giving relationship for us. Something that should be improved, and every network and every national conference of religious will find their own way. So we do not say how that should be. In some places, the network is a project like the Talita Kum with the UISG. In other countries, we have like in the US, the LCWR is part of the US Catholic Sisters Against Human Trafficking, or in Canada, where the board of CATI is also under the Conference of Religious, or in Australia. So we have really different body and different way. But again, we are church, but we are church under the responsibility of the major superior, women major superior.
Thank you, Sister Gabriella. In some countries, men and women are actually together on the same conferences, you know.
Yeah, that's true. But when we are coming at the worldwide level, the last reference and responsibility also for the canon law and the Vatican, the responsibility is under the International Union of Women Superior Religious.
Thank you. These are the most important aspects to understand also our mission. We have 2 questions more. One is from Sister Olivia from Ghana. She said, we in some part of Africa sometimes face situations where you get information about existence cases of human trafficking, but you don't get a willing statutory body, like police, to investigate the case or to intervene. Do you have some comments?
Thank you, Olivia. I think that it is one of the aspects that we are facing in many parts of the world. I have the same experience in Brazil, And for this reason, what we ask first is to build up stronger network among religious leaders and religious women, but also with other human rights organizations, because often we are facing these difficulties with the police or governmental organizations that are not really, I do not want to judge, but anyway, they do not intervene in rescuing or in prosecuting responsible traffickers. So I know that it is not easy, and this is one of the reasons that we invite to work stronger in prevention and in raising awareness and to create a big movement of people, because when we are more, we are stronger, and for the government it becomes more and more difficult to say no.
Sister Gabriella, now we have a question that I like a lot because it's about formation. And Sister Maria Goretti asked, you mentioned the need of preparation and formation in order to get engaged in the anti-trafficking activities. Does Talita Kum offer any workshops or program of this kind? And if yes, what are they like? For whom?
Since now, Talita Kum UISG formed 1,023 sisters. We are organizing training after that the Conference of Religious asked Talita Kum to go. So we do not interfere in the work at the national or local level. We are called. We formed sisters from 65 countries, to have an idea in this time. It's really a huge work done. The next training course will be in Mozambique in July. And yeah, is to train sisters in this field and then to build up networks. After the local network of Talita Kum are like the Italian network, Use Me organized, connected to the Italian Major Superior, is organizing every year training or a Congress to update the sisters committed in this field. Or I know that many of our annual meeting around the globe of our network has also this training element is very important. At international level, we decided together to have also the trainer for leaders. We concluded the first training, and we hope to have a second program for our leaders. And let us see what the General Assembly will ask again to Talita Kum. Who knows? We are open because, of course, formation is one of the main issues and priority of Talita Kum since the very beginning.
Thank you, Sister Gabriella. We are about to close this long interview. We meant to have a very short interview. As a journalist, no, we cannot, you know, publish long interview, but we are very happy for your questions because they raise very important and key issues. Sister Gabriella, I cannot ask you another comment because we will publish this interview Friday, March the 8th, and most of the victims, but also most of the people who work against human trafficking are women. So can you say something, a wish as women to women?
The wish is that we realize really that we are not alone, and then we are together, we can do a difference. And if a woman finds in a situation of violence, exploitation, or abuse of power, abuse, sexual abuse, we can really say no. We can say no with our daily choices. We can say no supporting one each other, because we are not suffering. We are also part of the solution, and we can do a big and a great difference in this world. I believe it.
Thank you very much, Gabriella. Thank you, the participants, and you are receiving a lot of nice comments here in the chat, Sister Gabriella, that we will read it for you later on. I just want to underline Anne Kelleher comments, because she, the person in charge of the communication of Renate Europe, that is one of the network in Talita Cum network, that is the European network. So thank you to all. And of course, Michelle, the interview in Italian and English will be in the new website of Talita Cum, that is talitacum.info. And also in our social network, we just opened recently Twitter. So for the assembly, so you can follow all our activities there. We will focus a lot on the 10th anniversary to raise the beauty and the good news about what the sisters throughout the world do against human trafficking. So thank you, everybody. Thank you very much, Sister Gabriella. And I want just to close recalling the title of the assembly. That is also a wish for all of us. Together against human trafficking, weaving a web in love. Thank you.